Welcome back to the Mole Lotus. I am Jess Grace, the Mole Lotus, but this channel is also called Mole Lotus because it's for people who identify with having begun a lot further down than just the muddy waters in order to become the beautiful blossom that is the lotus flower. So guys, today I want to talk about what has transpired ever since perhaps reintegrating the feminine from the shadow. Now, if you didn't catch that time around the full moon and what I was discussing, I had a message from Hecate and Venus that the feminine aspects have been sitting in the shadow for not only me as an individual human being, but as the collective. So I don't know if you've noticed, but we're living in a patriarchal society, and it's kind of shit. And the feminine aspects for everybody are sort of really ridiculed, and they aren't deemed appropriate qualities to have. So when we take the mickey of a man, oh you pussy, oh you big girl, blah, blah, blah. So you can imagine that in a patriarchal society over the centuries that those feminine aspects not only are deemed inappropriate, but we might have even lost touch of what they even are and how we would use them. Because, that whole burning at the stake of women who were in touch with their intuition happened, and that has led to like an inherited witch wound. So good episode, go back and check it out if you like. So firstly, I'd like to start by talking about the throat chakra. Now, I know I keep threatening to talk about chakras and I will get to it, but today I want to talk about the throat chakra because it's relevant to integration of the feminine aspects. So it's located in the neck, okay, the throat region. Now, it is the ability to speak your authentic personal truth, as well as self-expression, and, it's our way of communicating. Pretty easy to follow, that one. Now, when I was 4, something pretty significant happened in my life that really blocked my throat chakra, and it's been quite blocked ever since. But I kind of feel like as female, our voices aren't as important as those with different appendages, if you know what I mean. So I also want to talk about anger here. Now, anger is it's a quality that we all deem as bad. That whole emotional spectrum is something that's inappropriate in the collective agreement, and especially in women. If you are like me and you like to do everything for everyone because that's how women are, expected to be, that when you get incredibly tired of doing that and you're unable to go any further, what happens for me is my anger will come out and will go, that is enough, and it will burn a bridge in very spectacular Phoenix-esque style. But it doesn't really, it's not great. I mean, it sounds like a great quality, but it's horrible because you have to be uncomfortable for so long before your anger steps in and cleans up your mess. And then the way that it has to come in is very forceful, and you have no control over it whatsoever. It just comes out and you're just like, rah! So why do I say this? Look, anger loves you. Anger is a very valid part of you. Every single emotion that you experience is very important, and it contains a lot of information for you in order to gauge what's going on in your 3D world. And so when we ignore our anger and we put it down into the shadow, when we shadow something, it tries to get our attention, and it does it in a way like a petulant child would, because it wants to be loved and noticed and heard. And so it will act up and do naughty things in order for you to notice it and take it seriously. So when I did my ritual to reintegrate the feminine aspect of myself, what I like to do, just head down into a nice theta meditation, and I bring forth that aspect that I'm trying to reintegrate. I will express my love and appreciation and understand how it's worthy to me, and then offer it a seat at my round table, because all aspects of ourselves are equally lovable and equally as important. And by doing that, you give it a voice to speak up front and to have its 2 cents before you make a decision. And so then it's, for me, if I put anger in the seat and I take into account its wisdom and what it wants, I don't have to express anger in an uncontrolled burst. It just has an equal voice, and it says up front, this is not okay, this is fine, we'll be all right here eventually. Now, I've tried so many times in my life to reintegrate that anger, but still struggle to set healthy boundaries and to say no to things that I don't particularly want to do, or to notice in real time when somebody's maybe disrespecting me to my face, or pushing me into things that I'm not comfortable with. So when I did my ritual, I heard this transmission, and it was just a like it wasn't just in my imagination. I literally heard it with my ears, and weirdly, it sounded quite feminine. So I was just like, wow, that's very interesting and cool. And then I went about my day, went on with my wonderful afternoon that I had planned with one of my very, very good best friends. Then over the past week and a half, what I've noticed is this seething, calm rage. Not in every aspect, but within a certain small time frame of something that has either disagreed with my core values and beliefs, that I believe has crossed a line or a boundary, or just anything that I need to set a healthy boundary around, my voice has been so clear. It has been so succinct. It has had the most beautiful articulation, and you know, it's just snap like a fast viper or something. You're just like, you said what? I don't think so. And I love that. But it's very interesting. And what I found interesting was that all this time that I've known how important anger is in my life, I've still not been able to touch on it. And I think that is because there are different aspects of each emotion that are inherently female and male. And, you know, like, I'm not saying that, anger belongs to women or anger belongs to men. I'm saying that the anger of a man and the anger of a woman are very different. And to me, I feel like feminine anger is heavily linked to intuition, and that by trusting my intuition and by trusting my feminine aspects and by trusting my feminine rage and anger and wrath, that I have been so clear and in control and precise, and it's powerful. It is just so powerful. And I feel like the reason that women have been so discouraged from ever displaying any kind of anger or boundary setting or anything like that is because it is so powerful. It helps us to see exactly what's going on. Like, for example, I had an interaction with somebody that I'd been seeing and always felt like just couldn't quite grasp what it was that kind of might have irked me about this particular person, and always felt just almost putting them at this arm's length, even though, you know, the normal evidence would suggest that everything's fine, they're a lovely person, blah, blah, blah. And then they contacted me, and bang, this voice just came out of nowhere, and I pinpointed it exactly why this person irked me, and I could trust it, and I put them in their place. And I felt no guilt, no shame, no remorse, nothing. I was just like, yep, I know what's going on, and I don't care if that person thinks I'm wrong or that person thinks I'm wrong. This feels right to me, and I don't need any other external validation around that decision or the things that I've said to set that healthy boundary. And so I want to implore I want to ask you to get in touch with that calm, quiet rage, and explore the power within it. So what I realized then by this experience is that perhaps there's all these qualities that I've integrated from my shadow that I need to go back and reintegrate from a feminine perspective. So I didn't realize this, but it makes a lot of sense that my sexuality would actually be a part of something that I would have put and relegated into the shadow a very long time ago. And it never even dawned on me that that's something that I need to reintegrate. And you know, as soon as I realized in meditation that is such a big thing that I probably should have done a long time ago, that I had many other thoughts around the subject. So if you saw the apples, definitely I think that the feminine sexuality has many different qualities that would be quite different to the male aspect of our own selves and the sexuality side of that thing. So there is power in a female sexuality. I think for me, just the fact that any part of my sexuality had been relegated into the shadow has caused me a lot of grief in my life because, you know, without being in touch with it and without allowing it that equal voice and without being able to consult with it when making decisions about who to be in a relationship with, in an intimate relationship with, where sexuality is one aspect of it, then obviously it's caused me a lot of grief because I'm not compatible with them, or my sexuality will come out in inappropriate ways that is trying to get my attention and be loved. But it's something that whether or not I act on that impulse in the 3D, that it has perhaps consumed a lot of my time and my thoughts. So instead of being present in the moment, that I am consumed by some sort of maladaptive daydreaming in the realm of my sexuality that I won't allow to have a voice. And so I decided to start integrating that in, and it has been profound because I've noticed some patterns and also some things that don't even belong to me. I don't even know where to start to try to explain this to somebody else. But then I'm hoping, and I'm not quite there yet, to find the power within it from the feminine aspect. So I identify as being an empath, but oh God, please stop, don't. Wait. My idea of an empath, sure, you can absorb other people's energies. And I think that is great, good, okay. But then I feel like empaths will then feel like it's their responsibility to absorb that energy that somebody else is displaying from their emotional spectrum and try to help and fix. And that is not the role of an empath. I believe the term is empowered empath. So one of the roles an empath will play is to project energy, to come into the room and change the energy, and to give a different perspective from an energetic point of view, and to affect change by influence. And so it's very important for an empath to learn how to protect themselves from absorbing all the energies, and then to get into a very empowered state in order to be able to carry around the energy that you want to project for other people with you all day. And that's hard. It's hard. But I feel like my whole life I have been picking up on other people's sexual energy towards me, and then absorbing that, feeling the sexual energy and assuming that belonged to me. Now, I don't know if you can appreciate how confusing that could be. And if you are assuming somebody else's sexual energy as yours, then perhaps you aren't going to make the right decision about who's best for you and your heart, because you're not getting a clear view of what you're feeling towards somebody else. And so if you were able to sort of block receiving other people's sexual energy, and then you would have a clearer view of what actually belongs to you, who you're actually on an energetic level attracted to, as opposed to just feeling lots of sexual energy. And sometimes, like, obviously it's inappropriate, because some people will have an attraction to somebody, but it's not an appropriate thing to ever act upon, and they're not acting upon it. They're not, aware that you can feel that from them. And so for them, they're invisible and they're not acting on it. So they're not doing anything wrong. It's me who is picking up on it and then assuming that it belongs to me. And so then being incredibly confused, because this would be an inappropriate relationship choice. Does that make sense? Because it makes a lot of sense to me, and it's sort of starting to dawn on me, because I'm a single lady who's 46 years old and confused by relationships. But, a lot of that is maybe perhaps, just being on the spectrum, being, diagnosed with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, just the confusion of living in a patriarchal society. But for me, it has been a very powerful insight into my own psyche. And now I am trying to learn how to reject other people's sexual energy towards me, so that I can decipher what my true feelings are towards other people. So yesterday I reintegrated my wrath from a feminine perspective, and also my sexuality from a feminine perspective, and I was able to see those two powerful things. And I knew that those two aspects of femininity are really powerful, but I had no idea how it actually applied on a practical sort of level. And so I guess I hope today that is information that I can impart to you. Now, what is interesting, what is interesting is that I have tried several times now to record this, and I have been thwarted, but also I have felt incredibly unwell and overwhelmed and sick, and in my head just all of a sudden just, oh my gosh, my whole life's a mess. What am I doing? Oh my God. And just moments of just absolute anxiety. So I feel like that it is actually pretty important information that I need to impart if it resonates with anybody, even if it's just that one person who needs to know how to apply those aspects to themselves and re-engage and reignite and reacquaint yourself with your feminine power. I hope that that made sense from a practical point of view of how you can apply these things. It's wonderful to talk about concepts, but that's just not how my brain works. I need to know how to use these things. Okay, like people will say, "Oh, Jess, well, you're suffering from a low self-esteem." Like that is going to make sense to me, and I'm going to know how to fix that. Especially if you've never had a self-esteem, how can you know what you're supposed to be working towards? And there's no language, there's no outreach, there's no, okay, these are the steps. This is what self-esteem looks like. This is what self-esteem feels like. This is what this looks like. You don't know how to go out and get something unless you are told how that is supposed to look, feel, and the practical steps on how to get there. And so I feel like coming back to the throat chakra, that that is starting to help me to clear that energetic space and that block. And I don't think I'm entirely there yet, but it's certainly starting to become clear to me how profound reintegration of the feminine from the shadow is going to be for me, and hopefully for the collective consciousness, especially if we push towards a matriarchal society. Now, what else do I need to say? I will obviously be exploring more aspects of things that I have reintegrated, but need to go back and revisit from that feminine aspect. And so, yeah, I will keep this as a little thread. If you are interested in what is actually going on in regards to the reintegration of the feminine aspect and all the little things that I uncover along the way, it's kind of like a mystery to me. And I love this aspect. I always felt like I would make a good detective. However, I'm just not a narc. There's crimes that I think shouldn't be crimes, or that they would be better prevented by, public health care, mental health care, free education, access to homes, housing, food, education of emotional intelligence, all that kind of stuff. I just don't think prosecution and jails and detective work are really warranted when we aren't even given the basic human rights, which we can totally afford to give every single member of society nice ways of living, so that we don't need to resort to crime in order to fulfill our basic needs. You know what I'm saying? Okay. So look, I'm going to leave this thread here for now, but I will label it. The reintegration of the feminine, and then whatever else I'm talking about that freaking time. I hope you've enjoyed my waffling. I hope you have a wonderful whatever rest of the whatever it is that you're doing today. Now, if you've resonated with me, like and subscribe. If you don't like me, have a wonderful life. Okay, peace out.